Hey guys, Hustler back once again, making my fifth practical play video in my series. In this video, I'll be focusing on how to play the big blind versus the small blind. Now let's get started. For this first hand, I'm dealt 4-3 offsuit. In the big blind, about 16 big blinds deep, I expect villain to be opening at least 40% at this stack depth. So my hand will have about, let's check how much equity 4-3 offsuit has versus this range. 1 second, let me open up Equilab. Alright guys, I input this as villain's most likely opening range at this stack depth. This equals about 40% of hands. I discounted all of his small pocket pairs, which I expect him just to open jam pre-flop. This range looks about reasonable. You could give or take some of these hands, put into his limping range or whatever, but it looks reasonable enough. So you click OK, evaluate, and you now see my hand has 33% equity versus this range. So in order to figure out if my hand is worth playing or not, let's divide my equity. Let's divide my pot odds by my equity. My pot odds equals 25%. Let's divide that by my hand's equity, which is equal to 33%. So in order to make this hand worth playing, I'll have to realize at least about 76% of my equity post flop in order to make this hand worth playing, which is pretty much just a piece of cake. So for all you guys who are not defending an adequate amount from your big blind, you're really missing out. You're lighting money on fire. Because seriously, you would have to be extremely bad at post flop play in order to not realize this much equity post flop. When you're in position, you should, even without initiative, you should expect to realize at least 90% of your equity post flop. So, yeah, I'm not going to light my money on fire. I'm definitely going to play this hand. Not saying I'm going to win with this hand every time I play it, but I should be able to realize my equity enough times in order to make playing this hand better than me just automatically losing my big blind every time and losing basically a ton of money long term. So, yeah. I should definitely be able to make more than negative 100 BB per 100 playing this hand. So yeah. So let's go. I basically flopped the nuts with this hand. Like when you play a hand like this is basically the nuts. Like I have 4-3 also. I have a pair of threes, and nothing in villain's range basically beats me. So let's open up Equilab. Let's input the board into Equilab, which is equal to 883. And you see my hand is basically the nuts on this board pretty much. But this is still not a hand that I'll be raising. You just want to flat this hand, and hopefully we can just hope to run good on the turn in the river. That's all we can hope for. Once villain checks into me on the turn, I still think that I most likely have the best hand, but villain should have some 10x's in his range. I mean, a lot of 10x's in the range. You see in his range, it was filled with 10x's, and but I would expect most of villain's 10x's to barrel this turn. So I think once he checks, his range is mostly weighted towards ace x, king x, and maybe some draws that he doesn't want to barrel with. And he's hoping that he could just check, and I will check, and he'll be able to realize some of his equity for free. So I go for a small value bet here in order to get value from all of his draws, his ace x and king x. That's hoping to see a cheap river most likely. So yeah, on this river, value betting will be way too thin. So yeah, I'm just gonna be checking back, and hopefully I can realize my equity. And we see he had ace 10. He played his ace 10 a little tricky, but yeah, no discouragement. As you can see, we had nuts on the flop. We just ran bad on the turn. But yeah, long story short though, guys, you should definitely be playing this hand. Don't be too results oriented. Like you're not gonna win every time, obviously playing this hand, but you're gonna definitely win more than enough to make it worth not losing your big blind every time while you're in position.